Greetings, everybody. Greetings, everybody. Today is Tuesday, the 25th of January, first month of the new year, the 2022. And I welcome you to Doctoral Journey with Derek. Tonight, we are going to discuss I thought I was a great writer until dot, dot, dot. So, as we always do, it is now 7 o'clock. As we always do, we will begin this conversation with, of course, shout outs. I want to make sure that I'm respectful of those companies that support me and have brought me this far. So, those shout outs go to Miss Jacqueline Robinson of the bougieshootery.com. And their actual website, as you'll see on the ticker screen on my StreamYard, is www.bougieshootery.com. You can also find her on Instagram and Facebook and a few other places under Bougie Shootery. That's BOUGIECUTERIE. I know some people call it Couterie. I'm not that fancy yet. It's Bougie Shootery, that's how I know it. So shout out to her, shout out to that business. Great product. I believe they ship charcuterie boxes right now, so you can check them out on the website, or actually IM her and find out exactly what it is, the products that she does. And they have a special Valentine's Day boxes coming out. If you're in Jacksonville, you'll have this special Valentine's Day box, and I know it's great because I made it. But Bougie Shootery is the site. The next person I want to give a shout out to is Dr. Ramon Goings at thedonedissertation.com. Once again, Dr. Ramon Goings, you can find him that way, or you can find him on all of your Instagram handles, or Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, thedonedissertation.com. That's also the website. If you are in the dissertation stage, any part of that stage, you can find him and get his assistance. He has a cadre of people who have used this process, gone through this process successfully, and can tell you that it actually works. What he is doing actually works. And that's important nowadays because people will get you into programs where they're not sure if it works. We know his works because we have people who will tell you that it actually works. So find Dr. Ramon Goings or the Done Dissertation, or buy his book, 14 Secrets to a Done Dissertation. It's available on all major platforms. You can find it there. I'll also take this time out to give the shout out to Mr. James Lampkin. He has a dynamite podcast. You'll find him on SoundCloud. You can find him on Instagram as James Lampkins. You can also find him as Conversations with Lamp. Great platform, dynamite guests that he has on there. I'm amazed every time I listen. But Conversations with Lamp is the platform name. You can find him on Instagram. You can find him on Facebook as James Lampkin. He was a former student of mine. We go way, way back. He's now a great friend. I patronize his business. He's patronized mine. So I enjoy him as a brother. So Conversations with Lamp is the platform that you want to find. I'll also take this time to shout out firstgenfly.com, www.firstgenfly.com. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on Instagram. They do custom T-shirts and apparel. They do more than just T-shirts, but T-shirts seems to be the going thing. But they also have a line of shirts and hoodies, different like signature lines, but they also can make it to your needs and specification. So check out First Gen Fly. That's first, 1stgenfly.com. You'll find them on all the other platforms, but definitely you'll find them at that website. And just drop them a message to see what they can do for you. Alas, I have to put out my personal business. This is myadvantage.org, www.myadvantage.org. It is a play on the words education and advantage, and that's what I believe we provide. We provide an educational advantage. So check out www.myadvantage.org. You can find me also on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook, all of those platforms, LinkedIn as well. Just look for Dr. Derek Robinson, and you'll find all of that access there too. So myadvantage.org. So let's get down to business. It's now 7:05. Let's get down to business. So today's episode comes from two courses that I've created in a coaching program. The course I've created, you actually see here on the screen, is called Mastering the Literature Reviews. Um, and it is a process by which you do academic writing to understand writing the literature review. You can extend that same process and use it and employ it in writing frameworks, writing your data analysis. All of those things can be used or learned through working out this process and skill set that I offer. So once again, it comes from that course and coaching program. It also comes from a course I have, a mini course that I have called APA Basics. You'll find that on the website www.myadvantage.org. Once again, those two courses, Mastering the Literature Review and APA Basics, and I actually offer coaching on all of that. If you want those coachings, you can message me. You can go to my website, fill out a consultation form. We will get in contact with you either that day or very early the next morning, but we'll get you going. But that is where this topic for tonight comes from. It also comes from conversations that I've had with doc students when we reach a point where we've got to now get real. So, in fact, the idea for this emerged from a conversation with a doc student who actually said to me, wait a second, I'm a great writer. Because the feedback that they received did not indicate that we thought they were great writers. Thought they had the potential to be a great writer. Just they had some conventions that they needed to learn. And I understand there was no way for them to have learned this prior to coming into a doc program. So that's why this topic is very important. That's why this topic hits at many pain points that emerging writers in academia have. And it doesn't end after you graduate. It extends throughout a while in academia. Just realizing that you can still benefit by learning the conventions of writing even better. So this whole thing was based upon the statement, wait a second, I'm a great writer. Now, where does that thinking come from? Where does thinking I'm a great writer come from? Easily, to make it to the doctoral level means that you are able, as a student, and possibly good at doing school the right way. You have to have had some scholastic success to get to the doctoral level in a competitive market where doctoral level is the terminal degree. So imagine if you can go harken back to high school, you are the AP student of the doctoral program. So it does go that you have a level of confidence and that you believe that you are a great writer because you write a lot and people have probably told you you write very well. That's where this idea can come from. What does this thinking do for us? Here, it actually can do the opposite of what you think it will do. This thinking could force you to turn off your idea about improving as an academic writer because it indicates that you know all there is to know about academic writing, which could be a misleading idea. So that's what the idea does for us, that level of thinking that I'm a great writer. That's what it does for you. Now, what are the dangers of this level of thinking? So oftentimes, this level of thinking can close doctoral students off to learning new things, which in turn slows their growth as a doctoral student. And also it creates an unnecessary challenge and some time loss. And it goes beyond just the idea of writing. When doctoral students come in because of their level of practice in the field, and they assume that they know all there is to know about all of these topics, so why don't you just go ahead and give me my degree now and let's just be done with it? That can be very dangerous. And I know that because I had an inkling of that thinking when I came into my program. Because I have been in public education for so many years, I thought I knew everything. And then I was reminded, I only know things about the school I was at. I don't understand or know what was happening in education while I was in it on the broader scale. Even on the local and regional scale, I didn't know. I didn't know anything beyond my classroom and my school. Now, that's humbling. But that's also what it takes in your writing. You've written well where you were at. Now you're in a new field on a new level, and the academic writing process is different. It is extremely different. You have to get this manual that looks a lot like this here. And every so often they'll change it and a new edition will come out and there'll be new things you got to relearn. So it happens, but none of us are beyond that. So I do want you to understand that we're going through this together, and to get caught in the idea that you're such a great writer that there's nothing else for you to know about writing, you can gear yourself up for an extremely humbling experience. Now, it can process and hurt your doctoral growth, your growth as a doc student, which ultimately impedes your growth for the next level. Now, here are 3 main pain points about doctoral growth. Pain point 1 is learning a new skill set. Academic writing is a new skill set when you reach the doctoral level. In your master's degree program, and let's harken back further than that, in your program for undergraduate, your bachelor's program, your professor gave you the topics you were to write about and told you what had to be there. When you became a graduate student and did your master's degree, your professor gave you a little more leeway, but they still controlled the options. So you could choose 1 of 5 topics to write about. So you had choice. They still gave you the basic structure, but you had choice about the topic. When you reach the doctoral level, you may not be given parameters. You may be allowed to choose the topic of your choosing so long as it relates to the course, in which case you now got to know what you're interested in. So that's where your research agenda comes into play. And if you know that, you can then advance to an understanding of how to do this a little different. But that becomes the impetus by which you engage in the academic writing process. Now, in order to do that, however, you have to learn a new skill set, a new level of convention for writing, a new idea for writing, some new terminologies. And learning a new skill set is hard when you believe you are already a great writer. Now, that time used for doubt, that time used to challenge whether or not you're a great writer, could have been used for growing and learning. So you take that energy that you came into the classroom with, and rather than use that energy for growing and learning, you came in balled up. I know what I need to know. I know how to write. I'm a great writer. I'm in a doctoral program. How did you think I got there? So that impedes the doctoral growth. That's one pain point, the pain point of learning or having to learn a new skill set. The second pain point is greater than the writing process. It's really about you. And it's called role congruency, right? It's when I look at this person standing in front of this class or at the upper corner of the Zoom, what do I think about them in relation to me? What do I think about them in relation to the role that it says that they occupy? When I look at professor, when I think about the word professor and I look at this person, do I see professor when I look at that person? That's role congruency. And you have to now figure out how you're going to deal with it. For example, what if your professor is younger than you? Could you take direction and advising and correction from someone younger than you? What if your professor is not the gender you expected to see in the classroom? If you're a man, what if it is a woman in the classroom who is leading the class, who is the advisor and corrector in the class? Can you take direction humbly? What if your professor is not the ethnicity you expected to see? If you have this idea that every professor is an old white man with a gray beard, horn rimmed glasses, and a blazer with patches on the elbow, and I walk into the room with a t-shirt, jeans, and shell-toe Adidas. Am I who you expected to see? And because I'm not, can you still take direction and correction from me? The most important thing you have to think about in role congruency is how are you going to deal with it? How are you to deal with your issues on that? Because how you feel about someone younger than you, how you feel about someone of a different gender, how you feel about someone of a different ethnicity, is really your problem that you've got to figure out. And you've got to figure out, is it enough for you to hinder your process in earning your degree? Because if it is, then you should go ahead and bow out now. Because we're here, we're not going nowhere. The next part that impedes or pain points about doctoral growth is power dynamics, being this what we call a new timer, which is like a newcomer and an old timer at the exact same time. So how do you deal with the power dynamics and, more importantly, the new timer dynamics of this? And what I mean by that is this: you're not new to school, but you're new to this level of learning and research. That's being a new timer. You're not new to school. You're an old timer when it comes to going back to school. You've done this before. You've been in a classroom before. But you're new to this level of this requirement, the learning, the intangibles, the skill sets, and the content of this program. That's what you're processing all at the same time. How are you going to deal with that? How do you deal with that? And then there's also a power dynamic. Many of you as doctoral students are full-time workers and professionals. So you're all powerful at your day job. Then you have to come to class and be in need and take correction and take advising and be told that you're not as great a writer yet as you think you are. So that is something you have to consider and take note of. The power dynamics, the new timer dynamics. And if you fail to understand or deal effectively with these things, that could create a problem in your growth. And you'll end up wasting important time dealing with small issues that you should have grown beyond. So that is the idea of this whole approaching of being this new timer. Now, let's get to the point. There are 3 challenges you can overcome right now in order to get through this idea of being a great writer and advancing your doctoral growth. There are 3 things in writing, academic writing, you can do right now. Now, the first one is organizing yourself. Part of being a better writer, improving as an academic writer, is being organized. The big problem inside of organizing self is that oftentimes the problem emerges when we're not giving ourselves enough time to do the work right. You get your syllabus, you see you have a paper, you see what the topic is, and then you get about the business of going to class. And next thing you know, it's a month, the paper's due. Now you're scrambling, you're thinking about what you're going to write, feel good about it. And now you're still thinking, I still got to master this writing. I still got to do this thing. So great. You now are a week away from the paper being done. You haven't written much of the paper. So now you're in scramble mode. And you've got to now scramble to get something to present and turn in. And in doing so, that's when a problem arises, right? So that is the problem in organizing yourself. And I see future Dr. Tommy Salas. Great, we've got to talk, brother. Mentioned imposter syndrome, and that's a real thing. That imposter syndrome actually impacts even us. As we've passed our dissertation, past our doctoral stage, you're still encountering imposter syndrome. It's a real thing. So you definitely have to take that into account. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Now, the problem of not giving yourself the time can be accomplished by organizing yourself. You have to realize what writing really is. Writing really is gathering literature. That's part of the writing process. Reading that literature, that's part of the writing process. Theming that literature is part of the writing process. And of course, then the actual writing itself is all of those are parts of the writing process. Even when you're not putting letters to the keyboard to paper, you're still engaged in the writing process by all of the preliminary things that you have to do. And if you do those preliminary things correctly, the writing part comes easy. And I'm gonna give you a hint and some strategies a little later. So that's one thing. Planning is another thing that can prevent you from, or it can help you prevent you from coming to that problem. So part of organizing yourself, of course, is the planning. Planning yourself from last minute work, preventing that. And in last minute work, as I gave you the example earlier, what you end up doing is compromising a bit of your integrity. So planning, realizing that this paper is due in April and it's now January, you have to assemble some activities, things you have to do in enough time to get this paper done and done well and not drive yourself crazy. So the proper planning and taking part of all aspects of the writing process, from gathering literature to the actual writing, will help you organize yourself and prevent you from the truth of finding out you still have some growth to do and then hurting some of those pain points. So that's one challenge you can overcome right now. Improve your planning and organizing. The next thing you can learn to do right now, and this book will help you, is citing work. Citing work. The problem with people who believe that they're excellent writers is that they believe that citing work, actually leaning upon others to support their claim, is a sign of ineptness. And it's actually the opposite. In order to become a better academic writer, you have to know the research literature and then how the research literature supports your claim. It's not a sign of ineptness to cite others who have done the work. It's a sign of respect. It's a nod to their accomplishment. And it is part of the baton process, because the baton will be passed to you. And in the future, someone will be citing your work. So supporting your claims with established research is part of the writing process. And the better you are at doing it, the better you are at integrating several authors' works to support your claim thoroughly, the better you will be at this academic writing. That's a challenge that you can start overcoming right now. And this comes from finding yourself reading and understanding the literature that's out there. You cannot write about what you have not read. So you have to understand what's out there and what's been written, and then how those points support your claims. And then in your academic writing, actually citing the work of others, preferably the work of those who work in your field on your topic. And it would help if they are the seminal authors and they are the new and emerging authors who need those citations in order to establish themselves the same way you will be establishing yours. So citing work is another way you can overcome the challenge of impeding your doctoral growth right now. You can do this today. The next one I want you to think about is what I call monkey bar citations. So you start reading literature and you start citing work, but there's another step you have to do. Monkey bar citations generally come from not reading enough. And what happens is, if I read your paper, you'll have one paragraph in which all you cite is one author. And then on the next paragraph, you move to another topic and you'll cite one author on that topic. And then one author on the next paragraph, and then one author on the next paragraph. And it becomes monkey bars. You're just monkey barring from author to author in each paragraph. That's harmful, because it's indication that you have not read enough, and it shows lower level sophistication in your writing. what you're striving to do to overcome that particular problem and overcome monkey bar citations, you have to be integrating ideas from multiple sources and multiple authors. So going back to organize yourself, that part of the writing process is gathering literature, reading the literature, theming the literature, and then writing. When you begin to theme the literature, what you're essentially doing is integrating the ideas as they support your claim. And you will be well enough read on a lot of the research on a particular topic. So when you're talking about that topic, you're pulling from multiple people to support your claims. It's far more sophisticated in writing, but it also shows that you are establishing yourself as a serious academic writer because you have gathered the literature, you have read the literature, you themed it, and you have written it. That's all part of the writing process. So I want you to consider that. And also, what I said just earlier, you cannot write that which you have not read. So reading and writing go hand in hand. So the overcoming challenges, you can start by organizing yourself. You can start by citing work to support your claims. And you can avoid monkey bar citations by having enough literature and enough sources at your disposal where you're not doing one author per paragraph. So with that said, I want to get to you a secret. Everyone knows how to gather literature. Easy. You go to your online university library, know your search terms synonyms, and use a thesaurus, and then begin to pull those peer-reviewed journal articles. Everyone should know that by now. If not, hey, I can help you. Contact me on the side. The second part, everyone should know how to read the literature. We talked about this a few weeks ago, and that you're going to do light skims on certain sections, medium skims on others, and then deeper skims on those sections where you need to extract the information. Remember, when you're reading, you are reading to extract what this particular author or set of authors found. So you know that part. The next part is actually theming the literature. So now that you begin to extract the information from the authors, what you're taking from them are what we call significant statements. And these significant statements are simply findings of the literature expressed in your own words. I have to repeat that. Significant statements are findings of the literature expressed in your own words. This is how this is a layer of preventing you from plagiarism. So when you're getting these articles and you're reading them and you're extracting information, what you're finding are significant statements from this author. You express them in your own words, so to paraphrase and prevent yourself from accidentally plagiarizing. Now, you have a bunch of statements because you've read probably 40 to 60 articles, and you have a bunch of significant statements, and you've organized them somewhere, whether it is index cards, which I heavily recommend, or if you're sophisticated and you're skilled in Excel, you got them in an Excel spreadsheet where you can apply a filter, things like that. If you don't know how to do that, that's okay. DM me, contact me, and we can set up something where I can train you on how to do it that way. This is what I do, and that's part of the mastering the literature reviews that you see on the screen. So that's another thing that you can do. Now you take all those significant statements and you begin to group them by their similarities and you name them. Now what you're creating are elements. So significant statements named together in a group is called elements. So elements are just simply named groups of similar significant statements from different authors. So now you figure out what all of these different authors are saying and bring it to the table. And where they're similar, you group them together, you give them a name. That name becomes element. That's level one. Level two is you move those elements into the next level of grouping called meaning units. Meaning units are just named groups of similar elements. So you take these elements and you begin to group those together. Then you name them. They become meaning units. That's level two. Level three is moving from meaning units to themes. So themes are just simply named groups of meaning units. And you begin to pull those together. So now you got these meaning units, and underneath those you have multiple themes, and underneath the theme you have multiple meaning units associated with the theme, and then underneath those meaning units you have multiple elements associated with the meaning units, and then under that you have the statements. You have the author's findings expressed in your words. Now you can start doing some writing, but before you do the writing, you can outline. And the outline can resemble the form of table 2.5 in this manual, where you're dealing with headings. So we're going to do at least 4 headings from the APA manual as your outline. So you got your significant statements, you have your elements, you have your meaning units, you have your themes. So level 1 heading, which is your centered, bold, title font face, is your overall topic area. That's level 1 heading. Level 2 heading, which is flush to the left, bolded, titled, that's going to be your individual theme. So the themes that you have found, which are supported by meaning units and elements and significant statements, that goes as a level 2 heading if you follow this book here. The next level is level 3 headings. Level 3 headings will be your meaning units. And level 3 headings are left aligned, italicized, bold, title font. So that's your level 3 heading. The APA manual. I see you. So that will be your level 3 heading. The level 4 heading will be your elements. And they're going to be indented within the paragraph, bolded, type, not a lot, not italicized, but they're going to be before your actual paragraph starts. Now, that helps the reader know where they are when you're writing, which is another level of sophistication as you are embarking on this academic writing journey. So once again, knowing how to outline and then having those literature pieces to actually support all of that. Because once you start in your elements, then you're giving us those significant statements, and they're all organized in such a way where there's multiple authors supporting your claim. And we'll get into the significance and strategies for actually putting together your paragraphs. But if you can get here, you can get the rest. And once again, I offer coaching, offer courses that help towards all of this, to speak directly to this. And in my coaching, I give you kind of a 90-day plan to get you through this, give you this skill set, get you through it, and actually take a piece that you want to write and put it into reality. So those are the ways of outlining the themed literature that you have. Remember, you cannot write about that which you have not read. So with that said, it is now 7:33. Good people, I'm going to check out. The next week, we're going to finish this segment concerning writing the literature review, and we'll move to the point where you'll start actually having guests on here. And that's going to be a very important piece, because I want to bring in some people who can talk to us and work with us on these items and engage in this conversation. I love it that you all are engaged in this conversation and actually commenting. I appreciate that tremendously. But that is an important element as we move forward with this. But like I said, I can help you along the way. Just shoot me a DM, shoot me an IM, however you do it, shoot email. We can schedule a time to have a quick free consulting and see what we can help, see what we can actually improve that. And all I can promise you through my courses and coaching, I can't give you credit hours, but I can give you a skill set that you can master every course and activity that you have as you move forward. These are the types of things you need to learn before you enter into your dissertation. Once you're in your dissertation, your committee members expect a certain level of writing expertise. You don't want to get stuck there, because that can be an awfully humbling and time-consuming moment. I know many people who are ABD and have been ABD for years because they ran into that buzzsaw for writing. You do not want to do that to yourself. Please don't do that to yourself. But I will actually help you with this. If you contact me, we can get things going. With that said, family, it is 7:35 and I want to let you go. Next week, we'll wrap this all up on this mastering literature reviews and academic writing. And then we'll move on to future topics and guests and things like that. But thank you for tuning in. And like I said, pieces of this will be coming out in the next couple of days. For those who missed it, you'll be able to catch it again on all of your major platforms. Thank you all. I look forward to talking to you at that time. Bye now.